This is the Troy-Bilt model TB525CS. And I have a model similar to this. I have the TB490BC, and I've maintained that for years, but I happened to be at the salvage shed in my community dropping off some other stuff, and this one was sitting on the floor. And the pull cord had been yanked out and was just laying on the ground. I assumed someone had yanked it and got frustrated with trying to get it started, and the pull cord didn't retract for whatever reason, so they decided to dump it off in the shed. I gave it a once over while I was there, and I could see that there was some mud caked on the air filter housing and on the fan cover, and it looked a little rough, but I was able to stick a screwdriver in there and kind of manipulate the fan, and everything turned, and seemed that the engine wasn't seized just from that. And from that perspective, I thought I might give it a try, take it home, clean it up a little bit, and see what I could do with it. While I was there, I also did a visual inspection on the carburetor, and there were no obvious signs of leakage. The gaskets seemed to be intact, not cracked. The spark plug was relatively clean when I took it out and looked at it. So I figured this might have some value if I could just clean it up and figure out how to fix that pull cord issue. So ultimately I did take it home, and as I started to just unscrew things, I realized that I was going to need some help figuring out how to take apart that trimmer mechanism, the whole clutch working side of things. I've never really taken those apart before, but I did find that on the Troy-Bilt website there's a great video that talks about replacing the recoil spring, which is exactly what I thought I'd have to do here. And it talks you through step by step each of the screws you have to take out. It tells you how to remove the Trimmer Plus adapter inside this black cover. Really good tip about how to remove the clutch mechanism that's in there. You basically take some of the pulley string and shove that in the spark plug hole, and as you turn the clutch, that string will get jammed up inside the piston and gives you enough leverage that you can then use some channel locks and twist off the clutch mechanism. And that was a pretty cool little find on their website. The e-replacement parts website also has a write-up of that whole process as well if you're interested, and I'll put links to both of those on this video. Other things that were going on inside of there, once you get this red cover off, there is a mechanism. It's not a single encapsulated mechanism for the pull starter. You actually have to take a couple of things apart. One of them is this press ring that basically it's friction held in place, and that's what's retaining the whole pull mechanism. So you kind of have to lever this thing off with a screwdriver, and then you can get the pull mechanism out. And as I did that, the recoil spring kind of unsprung itself. So as I looked at that spring, there was nothing really wrong with it. So I just went through and it took me a few tries to get the recoil spring resettled back into its housing, but once I got that in there, I'd never actually replaced the pull string before. So there's another YouTuber I follow, Steve's Small Engine Saloon, and he has a great video tip on how to deal with replacing that pulley string on any trimmer. So I'll link to that here as well. And ultimately got that pulley mechanism all bundled up, put all the covers and everything back on. I did have to replace the fuel lines as well. They were dried up, but for $10 at Lowe's with my military discount, that was a pretty quick little fix there. The only thing I spent money on were those fuel lines. Otherwise the spark plug was fine. Poured in some True Fuel, took it outside, gave it a couple of cranks, and I did have to hold the throttle full in order to get it started. And so in this next video clip that I'm going to share with you, I ended up needing to adjust the throttle, and I thought I'd be able to adjust the carburetor like on other machines I have, but there are no adjustment screws on this carburetor. So in this next video, I tell you how I went about adjusting the throttle. I know a lot of people say these Troy-built machines are junk, but anything I can do to keep another machine out of the landfill and put it to use on my farm, that's a win in my book.